Hello everybody, welcome to Paris today. It's episode number 60, if you can believe it, of my series of free live stream walking tours. If you're not familiar with what I do, this is the series that brings you on the streets of Paris in real time on a weekly basis to give you a virtual tour for free. My name's Frye. I'm a full-time tour guide, photographer, blogger, and live streamer in Paris. And we're in the good old-fashioned Marais district in the 3rd arrondissement, to be precise. I've actually just got, we can't quite see it, but I've got Place des Vosges, the famous Place des Vosges, just behind me. And so this is the street that I want to explore with you today. And I can see my live viewers coming in, so thank you. Either you're watching me live or you can hear me on the replay. And this is the Rue de Turenne. Not everyone's playing it low-key today on the Rue de Turenne, but it's normally a rather quiet street despite being in the heart of the Marais. And I'm going to jump right into it because, as usual, I've got a lot to show you and perhaps too much to squeeze into one episode. But this is episode number 60, the Rue de Turenne in the Marais. Hello and bonjour to all my beautiful, loyal live stream audience. I really appreciate that. Hi, everybody. I can see you there. So let's get started. Again, Place des Vosges, if you're familiar with it, is just right around the corner there. But this is a street, the Rue de Turenne, that really warrants a closer look, like so many of these old thoroughfares. And let's start with this beauty. Let's get in nice and close. One of my favorite little hidden fountains here. This is called the Fontan de Joyeuse. Joyeuse being the word for joyful, joyous. Why is it named that? It's actually named after an old mansion, one of those hotels that used to be at this address that is long gone now, but it was called the Hôtel de Joyeuse. And so the fountain has kept that name even though the fancy residence has long gone. What I love about this is, I'll just give you the up and down. It's actually enclosed behind a gate. You used to, back in the 19th century, be able to access it. And when you look at old black and white photos, in fact, there's no gate at all. And the public was able to access this fresh water. It's from 1847. And it's one of dozens of beautiful old ornate fountains in the Marais. And what's interesting about this one is, first of all, you can see up top here in the sort of half dome section, we've got some aqua life, some storks actually, or the birds there. We've got a snake here wrapped up in the grass, and various sort of reeds and aquatic plants. And then this gentleman here, the little cherub guy, actually you can see at the bottom here it says Urcu. That word references the Canal de l'Ourcq. Canal de l'Ourcq in the northeastern part of Paris is the canal that in the Napoleonic era and afterward in the 19th century was really the best source of fresh water for the Marais. And so a lot of the fountains were supplied from or by the Ourcq canal. So that's what that's all about. Hello everybody, bonjour to you all. And I gotta show you, I gotta back up a little bit. We're starting off with the wide angle lens so I can squeeze all this in for you. It's a stunner. You can see the emblem of Paris up there with a ship. And that is the Fontaine de Joyeuse here on the Rue de Turenne. We got a lot of other stuff to see, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody. This place here, I want to show you a couple of great foodie addresses. This is called Teacup. It may come as no surprise. It's a tea room, and they have a lovely afternoon tea menu. It's a mother-daughter team that opened this place up, and they decided to create a sort of blend of French and British influence, and so it's pretty unique in that respect. And we don't want to bother anybody, but maybe we can just be a little bit naughty and take a quick peek. So that's Teacup. Not only is the afternoon tea lovely, but for those of you who want a good English-style breakfast, we're talking beans and toast and eggs and sausage and bacon and all of that. I've seen photos. I haven't had it here, but it looks pretty legit as far as the good old-school English breakfast, which I'm not as familiar with as an American boy, but that whole beans and toast and bangers and whatnot, I don't know what you call it. I don't want to use the lingo because I don't know what I'm talking about, but it seems like you can get a really decent English-style breakfast there if you're into that sort of thing. Nice little doorway, too. A little bit of a door tour today, so I'll show you some lovelies. Speaking of which, just across the street here, I'm going to zoom in on one. Hey, Erica Johnson says it's a beautiful day. It really is. In the forecast all week long, as we were suffering through the heat wave, the forecast said that it was going to rain on me mercilessly here on Saturday. So I expected it. I got my umbrella packed and everything, but it looks like we're going to be all right. Look at that stunner. Number 43. Love the color of it, too. You probably all saw it, at least those that are watching live and not 2 years from now. You probably noticed that we had a very nasty heat wave, broke all the records and everything for Paris heat. And oh my goodness, I was just shriveling up. I was just not enjoying myself at all. It was pretty rough. But today, it's very reasonable and it's a bit windy and it's definitely cooled off. Can you make this out? I wanted to show you this wide view of the facade here. There's actually quite a lot of loveliness going on. Hopefully you can make that out. This is a strip of the Marais that would have had a lot of those hotels particuliers. So a lot of these sort of aristocratic mansions, townhomes, townhouses and whatnot. So there is a sense of there used to be wealth here. I guess there probably still is, but you can see it in the architecture. Sometimes you can feel it. Here's another foodie address that you want to mark down for sure, especially you lovers of beef bourguignon. Look at that cute place here. It's called the Café des Musées. And let me zoom in a bit, I'll show you what they specialize in. The building itself is 1869, this beautiful little building. But the restaurant's been around. It was founded in 1924. And if we're able to zoom in a little bit here in the menu, look at right here. It's in bold. It's the only item in bold. The best beef bourguignon of Paris, simmered for 5 hours, and then you get mashed potatoes as well. Now you're going to pay for it. $22.50 is a little bit steep for a beef bourguignon, but I haven't had it yet. But I got to tell you, I've heard amazing things, and the TripAdvisor reviews are crazy good. People are in love with this beef bourguignon. By the way, I want to give you a tip. If you haven't discovered this already, if you're a user of TripAdvisor, I know some people are really into it. Sometimes it helps with these bistros and cafes if you actually switch the language of the reviews to French. Even if you won't understand exactly the text of each comment and review, you'll actually see their ratings. And sometimes it's a little more reliable to find out what the Frenchies are saying about a local spot like this. The floors are pretty cool. Check that out. So the Café des Musées come here for what they're claiming is the best beef bourguignon in Paris, and that has definitely piqued my interest. And I'm sure a few of you out there will be eager to try it out too, and we'll report back to each other when we try it. I know me and the Frites, we like to take care of each other like that. So yeah, if you're on TripAdvisor and you're looking at a French restaurant, go ahead and switch it to the French language reviews and see what the locals are saying about it. They tend to be a little more discerning for those sorts of things. They don't mess around with the reviews. This must have been, I'm talking here and here, a nice leftover bit of what must have been the previous signage of this establishment. And so hopefully you can make that out. Just when the shadows are cast, it makes some really lovely shapes. So I think that's interesting. And then I got to show you another dynamite door. Sometimes these doors, I've mentioned this before, I just want to eat them. I want to lick them because the colors are so fantastic. Look at this beautiful, like, creamy, minty doorway. Oh. This is number 50. And then let me pan around too. I gotta keep my head on a swivel because there's a lot going on the Rue de Turenne. A lot of you will recognize what's going on here. That's our guy Invader, our famous street artist. I know a lot of you are very familiar with him, doing those mosaic, pixelated images. This one's very unique. I actually can't quite figure out what he's going for with that design, but I did scan it with the app that he created, and it's worth 30 points if you're interested. And also I want to give you a tip. If you use that app that Invader created where you can scan in and get points for his work, this one in particular, it's labeled PA 1032, and that is how he is cataloging his work, and the PA means Paris, and 1032 means that was literally the 1032nd installation in Paris. So this guy's very prolific, and the number of the app when you scan it will tell you exactly chronologically when he created it. So imagine that, 1032, and he's done plenty more since then. This is a school here, and like a lot of schools, you can see the sad and very classic Marais plaque of the Jewish children commemorating the fact or memorializing the children that were deported, Jewish children. But the schools don't mess around, they're always beautifully, ornately constructed or at least decorated, so I like that. RF meaning the Republic of France, République Française. And then there's a library attached, or at least there was, and I just want to zoom in on this. This is a gorgeous detail. So this is the library of the Friends of Instruction, or the Friends of Education, essentially. And it seems to be painted. And it's just really lovely. It's got a bit of an Art Nouveau vibe. And so this was an old school library, and it says, if you see here, the association was founded for the lending of books in 1861, Civil War era for us Yanks. And so I just think that's a lovely piece that you don't want to overlook. Turned out to be a real beautiful day, in fact. Nice little doorway. Keith just commented from Mexico. Fantastic. Is it hot in Mexico, Keith? I bet you haven't hit 108 degrees in a while. So what's going on here? In fact, just down this street is where I did a very recent episode, the one that was called The Priest, the Hunter, and the Hidden Garden. Do you remember? And I started out that episode here, and we cut through to the left in the distance there to find a beautiful hidden garden tucked away behind there. So check that out. It was a couple of episodes ago for sure. Maybe it was 58, perhaps, I'm guessing. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But look at right here. I know I'm using my digits a lot, but I want to show you. I'm going to turn the zoom on, or switch to the zoom lens, in other words. And I want to give you a closer look at that. I like it. Sorry, that wasn't the smoothest transition that I've ever been a part of. But it's going to allow us to see what's going on up there. Sorry about the camera work. Right there. I'm going to cross in a minute. It's very common in Rome and Florence and whatnot to see these little niches with religious statuary. In fact, I was blown away in Rome as far as how often it happened. Oh, there's a lot of traffic. I'm waiting to cross here. Here it's a little more rare, but I always feel like, oh, it's a great kind of throwback to the Italian style. And it's a reminder of, even here in Paris, religion was such a major part of everyday life. Okay, I'm going to go for it here. That you would have these reminders and these protectors of neighborhoods. And so here, of course, we've got the Virgin and Child. And I had to pop the zoom on for this because if you can make it out, there's the ornamentation even up above her. There's like a little cherub head. Really stunning. Originally, these niche statues would have, quite often, when they had the Virgin Mary, they would have been painted in the back. Like this back section of the niche behind her would have been painted blue. That was always a very common color to represent Mary. And quite often they would have a cage around them or some sort of glass for protection. But you don't see that here anymore. Okay, and let me show you this too. Unexpected, you see from a long time ago, you've got a letter S carved on the left-hand corner and a letter D. Historians aren't completely sure about what these represent, but it probably dates back to an 18th century census that they ran in the Marais. And so the S and the D were meant to mark different districts or sections of the city in accordance with the census that they were enacting at the time. So I mentioned that hidden garden from a couple episodes ago. And there was a palace, a residence of a guy called the Grand Veneur. I just want to peek, just a quick little peek. Just a little peek inside. I don't want to bother anybody, but... So this is the inside courtyard of it. In fact, maybe we are going to bother somebody. So if you recall from that previous episode, this guy basically, the gentleman who lived here was known as Le Grand Veneur. He was the master of the royal hunt for Louis XV out at Versailles. And so the king, of course, would amuse himself and distract himself by going on these grand hunts. And there was always a gentleman called the Grand Veneur who was in charge of arranging the hunts. You can see the grand windows and some of the details here. And on the back side of this building is that hidden garden that we talked about. And I want to pop up here. It's very common in this home, bonjour, to see boar heads, just related to the hunt and the master of the hunt who resided here. There's a mirror here, so I can actually give you a preview of the next one I'm going to show you. Right there, mirror image, if that wants to work at all. But I'll show you. So on opposite sides. So yeah, was that a boar? Did I misspeak? These are dogs, actually. But I'll show you the boar on the outside. I had boar on the brain, but these are, I guess, the dog and the... My animal recognition isn't like, I'm not bringing my A game today. That's clearly with the antlers, that's some sort of deer. So anyway, you get the idea. So, this door wasn't supposed to be open, but we were able to get a bit cheeky. Look at this, by the way. Let's back up a second. Look at all the intricate work here. That's worth a moment. Whoa. Don't even know what this mechanism does. Paris is a city that, if you're willing to let it, it will encourage you to just stop and take in the details because it's oh so easy to blow right by them. Okay, hitting the button as usual. So I promised you a boar. He's up here at the top of the doorway. There you go, there's the boar. So a boar, a deer, a dog. Ray, a drop of golden sun. Look at these, speaking of dogs. Love that. Isn't that a great little door knocker? So cool. I walked by here like a year ago and I photographed this and I said to myself, oh, isn't that clever? They put little doggies on the door knocker. But then when you realize the history of the gentleman who famously lived here, you're like, okay, he was a hunter. There you go. Interestingly, if we back up, at least I find it interesting, there are these almost like benches. Can you make that out? That's pretty rare to see those on either side. I don't know if they were actually meant to be benches, but what's funny is someone here left an old printer for anyone who wants to take it. So if anybody wants a printer, maybe we'll do a free giveaway. Let me know if you want this old, perhaps completely broken, run-down French printer hanging out on the Rue de Turenne. This is fun. The architecture here, just the structure of the building, I guess, dictated that these big pillars had to be on the ground floor, as you can see. And they just built the shop around it. So that's a pretty great entrance because I love this old style sign, which honestly looks legit to me. It looks real. I'm going to cross in a second. It looks like it's from the 50s or something. Guy Laurent. And then I want to show you that. We have some bull's heads, and when I get closer I'm going to show you another detail too. Clearly this used to be a butcher or a meat shop of some sort, and I promise I will be able to cross the street eventually. There we go. Let me show you here. Those are beautiful. And then you can see the hooks, right, all along here. That's always a giveaway that they used to hang meat and saucisson and various things from those hooks. You know, the Rue de Turenne, where we are here in the 3rd arrondissement, it tends to be, whether you're a local or you're a tourist, it's kind of just like a throughway that you use to get from one section of the neighborhood to the next. Very rarely do I see people stopping for the details, and that's why I thought it was a good exercise for us. Nice little door there. We're getting toward the end of my walk, and as usual for my lovely Patreon supporters, we're going to have a private tour extension after this public walk, which is how we'd like to do it. And we're going to explore during the private extension for my Patreon members. We're going to explore that beauty. I'm going to take you inside, and we're going to see all the there's a hidden masterpiece in there that a lot of people don't know about, and some other goodies as well, and so that's part of what we'll be doing together. But we're not done with the public walk yet. Let me show you this. Here at the top it says Weber Metal, or Weber Metals, and this is an old industrial alleyway of sorts, an industrial courtyard, and I'm going to switch to the wide angle for us here. Hopefully I can do a better job than I did last time. Yes, well done, Corey. And this is a different type of courtyard. We get accustomed to certain types of hidden little alleyways, but this one, it just has a different vibe to it that I find charming. Again, very industrial. But quiet. And it makes you curious as to all the characters that have come through here and the history that's played out. So there you go, the Weber Metals, and I guess that's what they're still doing today. Manipulating various metals. I don't know what they do. Check this out though. I've always liked this spot. If you can see it, it's not too dark. I like that. And then there's like a big warehouse or garage in the back. But I like this staircase. I'm a man of simple pleasures, really. And what I like is this, looking down at this beautiful little spiral and wondering what the heck that leads to. Look at that, can you make that out? I mean, it's gotta lead to something, right? A hidden stash of wine, an unknown section of the catacombs. I mean, something. I just like that. Let the old imagination run wild. And then here it's actually very leafy on this other side. Let me show you. We can catch a glimpse of that church that we talked about. St. Denis of the Holy Sacrament. That's the top of the church. And that's the one we'll be exploring. So if you don't, I suppose I should give my spiel. I've done it 60 times now, but I feel like I still need to do it. I have a Patreon website, and if you want to help me continue this project and improve it and help it survive and thrive, consider there's a link in the description of this replay, and you can find my Patreon page, and you can become a supporter monthly, and you'll get a lot of cool rewards, like PDF maps of my episodes and discounts on real-life tours when you come with me, future discounts on other products that I'm going to be releasing and selling online, and meetups with other Patreon members. You know, if you want to have friends in Paris when you come through and have meetups and Café Chats and, you know, all sorts of things, and go have meals together. People are doing that all around the world. My Frites, as they are affectionately known. So consider becoming a Patreon supporter if you want to help me continue this project and allow me to focus on it, because I'm very excited to do so. Okay, so there's the church, but before we wrap up the public version of this walk, I'm sure I've run long compared to how much time I wanted to spend. That's my bike, by the way, if anyone's curious. Hello, bike. That'll be taking me home later. Oh, and right there is where I had one of our private cafe chats with Rosalind Tullio, and I had her try snails there on camera. Okay, I'm going to finish with crossing the street. This is great. I talk about this when I do my tours of the center of Paris. Right up here, there's the current street sign, but then there's an older one, and it says the Rue Saint-Louis. This used to be called the Street of St. Louis, one of our medieval kings. But if you come here, you'll see with your own eyes that the revolutionaries during the French Revolution, they were so against the monarchy and so against Christianity and saints and whatnot that they carved out the letters. So actually you just see these sort of grooves where they carved out the letters of the Rue Saint-Louis. And then over here, I really should have put the zoom lens on for this, I apologize. Over here it says the Rue St. Francis, but the saint is torn out, it's gouged out during thanks to the French Revolution. So sorry, I didn't put the zoom lens on for that, I probably should have. But I gotta keep the wide angle on for this next thing. And then we'll finish up the walk. It's a busy street on Saturday. All right, here we go. This is number 76. Dodge a stroller. Look at this beauty. There we go. Oh, I love this staircase. Love it, love it, love it. Today this is a gallery called Perrotin. There are a couple of galleries in this courtyard, which is why it's always open to the public, weekdays and Saturdays as well. And it's just absolutely elegant. What a way to enter a gallery. And so I'll just give you a feel for the vibe here. It's not just this lady, but the reliefs on either side of her. The gallery there. Hey Clara is asking, where is this again? I think it's number 76 on the Rue de Turenne. Stunning. All right, folks. So that's the end of the public walk, and we'll make our way out here. Whew, that's my sweaty noggin. Thanks for joining me, episode number 60. I can't believe it. What a milestone. I'm so excited to create another episode for you next time. Consider becoming a Patreon member, or if you come to Paris, take a tour with me. I'm a full-time tour guide. I am going to take the next couple of weeks off from this project, but don't worry, I'm going to be back in mid-August, and we'll jump right back into the swing. If you are a current Patreon member, go ahead and in about 5 minutes, give me 5 or 10 minutes this time, sorry. Give me 5 or 10 minutes to prepare the private tour of that church that we talked about, okay? And we'll do that in our private Facebook group. You know the drill by now. And I think that's about all I want to say. Thanks, everybody. I'll show you one last view. And people have encouraged me, Corey, always remember to throw your tagline in at the end. Don't forget the tagline. So I'm going to finish this episode number 60 by saying thank you for joining me in the Marais. And if you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'm going to bring Paris to you. Boom. Done. Have a great day, everybody. Catch you on the next one.